baby.
Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're looking at the installation of some Speedra 3-piece levers. Now Speedra is produced by SSK. I actually had a set of these levers on my previous bike. These levers are more a premium style. They're certainly not a $40 or $50 set in Australian dollars that you purchase from eBay. This is a genuinely professional set of levers that you buy from a Japanese company made for a Japanese bike. I had nothing but good luck with these levers on my last bike, which was a Honda Rebel, and these levers cost around about 160 Australian dollars, and then you've got to pay for shipping. So as is the case with all of my videos, please check the video description below to see a link where I purchased this from the WeBike site, and then I'll be able to get you to add it to your cart, and you can have a look how much shipping would cost to your own country. So when I purchased my parts from WeBike, they come very well packaged. Can't speak enough of them. I'm not in any way affiliated with them. They don't pay me in any way. They don't even know about my channel. Sometimes I tag them in Instagram posts because I actually like their products that they sell so much. But anyway, here inside the box, very similar to my last video. And if you just wanted to see in my video history, you'll see I've got a whole bunch of Honda Rebel 500 content, and I installed this exact same set of 3-piece levers to that bike. Now I wasn't able to carry over these levers to this bike because the area where the levers mount to the handlebars and the mount on the handlebars from factory is different on the Suzuki. But in any case, when you open the box, it comes with part numbers and colors. It tells you about the 1, 2, and 3, plus the actual extendable lever, the part numbers and colors. So it makes it nice and easy for you. If you are wanting to purchase it, you can buy it directly from SSK. So here is the right side brake lever, and as you can see, it's set to setting number 5, which is the closest to the grip itself. Now this one is a lot shorter at the factory position, but as I said, you can adjust this nut and draw it out appropriately. Now when you go to do a lever swap, you'll need a 8mm and a 10mm ratchet socket to undo, and what should be from factory is this has never been modified, but there's a Phillips head screw here that holds these cables in place. But on my old bike you had to undo it to move these, but this actually has movement from factory, so you can actually get into there, so that's not a problem. So just got my socket, size 10 on the bottom, and they really are done up with like the smallest amount of torque, a very, very light amount. So I didn't even have to break that off very much at all. Okay, so we've just got a simple non-nylon, but it has got a weird sort of circlip in there, but it's not falling out. So that's a size 10 to take out. And then let's have a look. So we've got a size 8 bolt on top. So this is why it's easiest to use a ratchet spanner to draw this up. As that's turning, it's of course drawing this bolt up. As you do that, you need to keep these handles out of the way and just keep your hand underneath, because once you remove this bolt, the lever should be unsupported. Okay, so there's the bolt. It's got a collar on it so that as you move, it doesn't stuff the thread. And then you've got your thread here with what appears to be, yep, it's got some grease on it, like my last bike had. So I'm going to put my hand underneath and draw it out. Okay, so let's have a look at this now. So you've got two parts to the lever. The first is you've got your brake switch, which probably every Japanese bike has. And then on this side, as you pull in, you've got some grease on here, which pushes for the brake master cylinder. So before I go to put the new levers onto the bike, I'm just going to put some oil. In fact, I can transfer some of that oil to right here. This actually just comes, it's actually pushed into where the master cylinder is. And they actually put some also inside this tube because it's got some movement. So I'm just going to use some of my own grease, lithium grease, to insert into there, and I'll come right back. So on the instructions from SSK, it says that no components from the factory lever have to be used as a part of the install. So they design it without needing to have this pushed in bearing, meaning that this sort of lever is not just specifically designed for this bike. So I've actually put some lithium grease, which I use. It's a Penrite lithium grease, just available at my local auto store in Brisbane, Australia. And because I've put that grease inside, it's nicely lubed up, and there's not going to be problems with the bolt rubbing against it and wearing it out and causing any problems with movement. So the factory bolt that it comes with, I've tested it before putting the grease in. It's nice and snug, and it does not need a bearing at all. So it's simply just an opposite install. The brake side's a lot easier. So you just need to put the lever back in, just making sure that you don't have any dirt or anything in there, which I don't, just come straight out of the box. But you want to make sure that when you put this in, it's nice and clean. Alright, so you've got to apply a little bit of force so that you get the bolt lined up, just with your hand, nothing much. And you'll feel eventually, and you'll see that the bolt just starts making its way through. At that point in time, you can get the 10 sized nut and tighten that to the bottom. Switch your socket to tightening and have your tightener on top. Now I'm actually just going to drive that bolt in just a little bit more. Keep those levers up. So they don't even have to be done that tight, just medium strength tightening with your hand and you'll be fine. Okay, so there you can see the lever looks a lot shorter. It's actually pretty short and just slightly too short for my hand, but the number one position leaves it just slightly shorter distance than factory. But there's 2, there's 3, 4, 5, 6. I really like that this lever gives you the ability to shorten it so that you don't have to worry about, if you do drop the bike, that the levers are less likely to get damaged because they're not protruding out past this end, this bar end. So I'm going to go straight to 1, maybe 2, probably just leave it on 1, and you'll just have to see what it's like when you ride it. So I'm just going to actually undo that little bolt there and extend the lever. Okay, so here's the back side of the lever. You can see it's just got a tiny little Allen key nut. You only need to just loosen it off maybe half a turn max. When it's at full extension, it comes to about probably, 1.5 fingers out from the edge. So if you've got a large hand and you're wondering what this is like, that's what it looks like at full extension, and that's what it looks like when it is fully extended. So now we're looking at the clutch side, guys, and the clutch side is very similar, but there's an extra step. So the pickup point for the factory clutch, at least on a 2022, is just about halfway out, and then you get to a point where the lever is extended, but then there's this part where you've got some slop. So most clutches on a bike have a little bit of play like that, but the actual pickup point for when you release the clutch is about here, about just under halfway. At that point in time, the gear is engaged and you start rolling forward. Now on this clutch side, it uses a 10 on both sides. So instead of having an 8 on top, you need to have a 10. So so you just need to undo the bolt just like before. So all I did was I just pulled this rubber up here. Now underneath here there is a mechanism to adjust the clutch cable. That's for the pickup point. We're not going to touch that at the moment. All I'm going to do is just undo the bolt on the bottom side. So that's a 10, just as I was mentioning before. We're just going to get this bolt out, have a look at removing and fitting the clutch cable. So again, on this side, it is not done up tight at all, so don't go cranking any of this stuff. Do it exactly as it is from factory. Very light pressure. So there. Again, on the other side, it's got the same sort of nut. Okay, so then once that nut comes undone, then so I can't put a driver in here because the mirror's in the way. So you just got to take your time. So as I'm undoing this nut, this bolt on the top, I can feel that there's some movement now in the actual lever. That's because the bolt is out. So again, collared nut, thread down the bottom, this collared area, we're going to make sure we get some lithium grease on it to prevent any sort of shaving occurring. You can see that, but right where my thumb is, there's a switch, and that must be, yep, it is a little box. There's an electronic box underneath here. It's a switch, and that's for the low idle assist when you're plodding along in first gear. So I don't want to rotate this too much, but if I turn this to the underside, this is just for the purpose of showing you. You can see that there is an end to the clutch cable just there, and what you need to do is get this in alignment so that you can, so I've rotated this so that the lever's facing to the very front of the bike, and when you've got it just in the right spot, you'll see that this little stopper falls straight out of the lever. So that then means we're going to put the aftermarket lever. Exactly as we saw it there. Here is the spot for that. I'm putting it the exact same way, straight back in, just trying to line that up. It's a little bit hard when the camera stand is in the way, but that's part of YouTube life. So you can just pull the cable out a little bit. It just goes straight in. So that's a nice, easy fit. And then I heard a little click, so the cable has gone inside. And so now what I'm going to do is just put a little bit of lithium grease on the top and bottom peeling point. So all I do is just get a little applicator slash earbud. Don't worry about it getting messy. When you tighten it all up, you just use a tissue to actually wipe any excess all away. So there's plenty in there now. In fact, there's more than what there was from factory. And I'm just going to get back that part. Now I need to push that switch in that's down the bottom so that the handle goes over it, and then I line it up so that it's in a position ready for me to fit this factory bolt back down. Okay, so the bolt doesn't just drop in, you actually have to line up the thread and start tightening it, and then as you start tightening it, you get to a point where you can't turn it anymore with your hand. So now I'm just going to go back to my ratchet. Just going to do things nice and smooth. Don't rush it. You don't want to stuff a thread up, because then you have to get this whole new factory mechanism. So take it nice and easy. Make sure you've got your threads lined up. Okay, so I'm just raising the spanner a little bit so that the base is not scratching all the way down the bottom there. And I can actually turn it very smoothly by finger now. So now I'm going to get the nut, put it on the bottom. I'm going to lock that in. It's a little bit fidgety, and of course my hands have got lithium grease everywhere. Oh, socket's the wrong way. There we go. There we go, just a tiny little bit of tightening because it was so easy to undo. So I'd say that was probably way less than 5 Newton meters. And the last thing you want to do is you would put this cover back on top. So visually inspect to make sure that A, you've wiped down any excess grease that's been pushed out of a shaft from when you're tightening it, and good. I actually don't have any there, that's good. Next thing is have a look for the feel of the lever. So in this case, I know that when I was on the right side, I wanted for this extendable part of the lever to be a bit wider. So I'm just going to break that just a quarter of a turn, and I'm just going to bring that out about 1 centimeter. So just going to feel what that's like. Yep, so that's really good. So I'm just going to tighten that back up again, just a quarter. Alright, so now I'm just going to get a feel for where the clutch pickup point is, just to make sure that it's the same. So you won't know that unless you actually put your bike in gear and just test that. Okay, so I'm just putting the bike. Oop. Okay, so just starting now. Alright, so I can actually immediately feel that the clutch is actually grabbing straight away. So what's actually happening here is that the length of a clutch cable is not correct, and that typically can happen because your stopper can be in a different location to where it was from factory. So what that then means is that turn your key off and you need to look at some clutch adjustment. So I had the clutch all the way in, and even so the bike was trying to move forward. So this explains to me why a lot of people that make exhaust videos of their bike, they go to rev their bike and the bike's in neutral and the wheel is actually spinning. And so what's happening is they, more than likely, if they've been playing with their bike, they've done something like this and they've attempted to put some aftermarket levers on. Then what happens is that this part here needs to be adjusted. So typically what happens is this larger wheel is kind of like a locking nut, and then once you undo that locking nut, then the whole this portion here can be adjusted either in or out until the pickup point is to the way you like it. And if you've been riding and you're used to it picking up just before halfway, as it was in the factory pickup, then you would need to make your changes. So what I like to do is that because this whole thing is under a black cover, it won't actually matter if you make a mark or not. So given that I know that this was where the factory position is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little Nico mark here, and then I'm going to turn it half a turn and then just keep testing half a turn at a time until I find that the pickup point is back to the normal location. Okay, so I'm sure you just love it when you can't find a marking pen in the entire house, so you have to go to a pencil. So I don't know if that shows up, but I've just used a pencil to mark where I'm going to adjust this bolt so that I can adjust the tension. So I'm just going to back this bolt exactly half a turn. All right, so I've backed it towards the back, and let's see the pickup point now. Okay, so that helped a little bit. I can tell that it eased off a bit. So I'm going to turn that another half a turn now. So now that's one full turn towards the back of the bike, and we'll try again. Slightly better, so I'll just try that again. So that's now 2 full advanced turns to the back of the bike. So it's a little bit better, but I think I'll need to go another half a turn again. So every time you do it, you've got to unloosen the large one. And then tighten the large one. So undo the large one, turn it half a turn towards the back of the bike, and then tighten up the large bolt. So this is now 2.5 turns towards the back. So as you can see, it took about 2.5 turns, and just when I finished, I turned it a little bit more. So I would say 2 3/4 turns. So to show you closer, what I did was I eased off that nut, that very thin 10-cent coin nut, and I rotated this part 2 3/4 turns towards the back, so this way. And then once I had at 2 3/4 turns, I then tightened this one back to there. By adjusting the clutch like that, what then happened was that the pickup point, instead of being immediately at the grip, it came back to just before halfway, as it is from factory. So the way that it was intended, the pickup is intended to be from factory. So the last thing I do to make this right is just put this cover, pull it back this way, slot it over the nut like that, so that it's nice and tidy, and that completes the job. So just giving you guys a look at the Speedra 3-piece levers produced by SSK. Super nice look. So it's nice and black. As you can see, in my instance I opted to have grey there so I could easily see where the switch is, but the truth of the matter is that once you've actually got it dialed in, you wouldn't adjust it again. You can go all black, you can go on the WeBike site, you can choose the colours that you like and actually see what it looks like. So if you wanted red, black, silver, etc., it'll show you a picture. They pretty much have a picture of every variation. So that's what the levers look like from the front when I've got it at this sort of 1 to 1.5 centimeter spacing. Now in my case, I have not adjusted the bolt here to make this part of the lever sit up. I don't feel that I actually need that to occur. So the lever is closer, just slightly closer, maybe 0.5 centimeter to 1 centimeter here at the bend, and the angle and the length of the end of the lever is well within the limits. So if you're one of those guys that likes to run a bar end mirror, you can see here, even at a sort of a medium to large, just on the verge of going to a large glove, you've got heaps of room here to put a mirror, and your levers are not going to foul that mirror in any way. Let me know what you think of this install, guys. This has been a really easy mod to do. As I said, don't cheap out on this. Don't buy an eBay cheap set. Buy a good set of levers. If you can, like this, get a Japanese set. You know the quality is going to be top notch and they won't let you down. I've been riding with a set of this brand levers, exact same build, quality, everything. Only the mount changed because it was on my last bike, which is a Honda, and I had 0 issues with it at all. I highly recommend them. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
I got bags of funk and it's selling by the tons. Niggas wanna know how I live the Mac life. Making money, smoking mics like crack pipes. It's type simple and plain to maintain. I add a little funk to the brain, the funk, baby.